This morning, sources tell CNN that President Biden is growing frustrated over how his administration is handling the message on the discovery of classified documents at his private office and home. CNN is also told that even more searches of President Biden's properties are possible.
CNN's MJ Lee is at the White House with more, yet another headache for this administration. So is there a new strategy in terms of messaging, and what is that strategy?
Well, what we are learning is that as this story has consumed the White House over the last week, President Biden himself has grown frustrated at what he feels like has been a story that has overshadowed a positive streak for the administration. And meanwhile, in the building behind me, White House aides who were many of them in the dark about this story until the story really broke last week, that their mood is one of quiet resignation, that there's sort of a it is what it is mentality right now as they too wait like most everyone else to see if more classified documents surface. And what has been really notable in reporting out this story is that even some of the president's closest allies are sort of starting to wonder out loud why the White House wasn't more forthcoming about all of this and about what they have known, and why they weren't more forthcoming sooner, particularly puzzled by the White House counsel's office decision to put out that initial statement last week, but not disclose that they knew about additional documents. For example, former Senator Doug Jones is somebody that I spoke to for this story, and he said that he believes the White House has made some unforced errors. He told me once you make a statement, once you have the facts, you have to be full and complete. They weren't full and complete, and he says, gosh, come on, y'all, you've got to do a better job when things like this happen. That's exactly what I would say. He obviously used a slightly different word there. Importantly, though, Jones did tell me that he thought the lawyers had basically handled everything appropriately by initially going quickly to the National Archives to tell them about the discovery of the documents.
MJ, are there any answers to the questions you were posing before about why the White House and Biden insiders handled this as they did? What governed their decisions and statements?
Well, what we're basically learning is that ever since those first batch of classified documents was discovered in early November, the small number of aides have known about the existence of the documents have operated under the basic rule of don't share anything publicly that could jeopardize this investigation. And a part of that calculation clearly comes from Bob Bauer himself. This is the personal lawyer to President Biden who has been taking lead on this. You saw that statement from him over the weekend when he tried to lay out how he has been trying to balance transparency and not interfering with an ongoing investigation. As a part of that, he said, look, I think it's important to not be publicly sharing information about the investigation as it is ongoing. And we have seen this coming from the president himself. Remember, yesterday he went to this MLK Day breakfast event, and he had a private conversation, I'm told, with Reverend Al Sharpton. Sharpton told me that when they had this private conversation, the president didn't bring up this issue at all. And when he did bring up House Republicans in that conversation, it wasn't to talk about the investigations that they are promising. Sharpton said that it was to talk about how he wanted to reach out to them to talk about issues like voting rights. So sort of a telling exchange that I think goes to show how the White House is operating right now.
MJ Lee, thank you so much for sharing your reporting. We'll see you soon.
Joining us now, Tolu Olorunnipa, a White House bureau chief for The Washington Post, and CNN legal analyst Jennifer Rogers, former federal prosecutor. Welcome, both of you. So, Tolu, is there a way now for the White House to reverse course, perhaps get ahead of this story now that a special counsel has been appointed? What more can they do?
Well, first, they have to hope there are no more classified documents out there that will add to this news cycle, which has continued for more than a week now, in part because it's been a drip, drip, drip cycle in which we've seen new information coming out, new classified documents being found in different locations. So they have to hope that they have done the full review. It's not yet clear. They haven't confirmed that they have done a full review of all the various locations where classified documents might be. But if they have done that review, and once they finish that review, it will be incumbent upon them to put out as much information to the public as possible. Otherwise, you get speculation, you get investigations, you get a number of people wondering what worse than it actually appears. And so it's going to be incumbent upon the White House, the people close to the president, his lawyers, to put out as much information and to be as transparent as possible, not only about what's out there, but also about what they've found so far, including the documents found at the office that he had, the documents found in his Wilmington home. It'll be important for them to say exactly what happened, how it happened, who found them, and why this took place in the first place, so that the American people can be confident that this is not anything more nefarious than what the president says it is, which is a mistake, something that shouldn't have happened, but something that was only a sense of sloppiness, as opposed to people taking things that they shouldn't have taken on purpose.
Jennifer Rogers, to that point, Tolu was talking about the news cycle. Lawyers care about that in a way, but they care about other things more. What are the open legal questions that still exist here beyond, are there any more documents?
Well, we have a special counsel to decide whether there's any criminal liability here. I mean, that's the big ticket item. Rob Hur is now conducting an investigation into just how those documents ended up being where they were found. Was there any criminal action here? Was it intentional that they were taken? Were they mishandled? Under the statutes, you need intentionality. So I think from what we've seen so far, it doesn't look like there will be criminal charges here. But that's what Rob Hur's job is now, to figure that out. And the question is, what is Congress doing? Rob Hur and the Justice Department are going to have to defend his investigation. They can't allow their witnesses to be interviewed by congressional committees. They can't allow this information to leak out into the public realm while it's being criminally looked at. So they need to protect their investigation. And I anticipate a battle between the congressional committees that are getting going in terms of requesting information about this and the Justice Department and Rob Hur's special counsel's office as they conduct their investigation going forward.
Well, Tolu, that could just be one of the many battles that we could see in Congress in the coming days and weeks. The U.S. government is expected to hit the debt ceiling as early as this week, Thursday, according to the Treasury Department. You have Kevin McCarthy saying he's ready to negotiate. The White House isn't budging. But in terms of what Kevin McCarthy is ready to negotiate, he's got a faction within his own party that clearly held his own speakership hostage. What are you hearing about what they're willing to do and how far they're willing to go in holding the debt ceiling hostage until they get what they want?
Kevin McCarthy won the speakership in part by promising these hardliners, these conservatives within his caucus, that he would take the fight to the White House over the debt ceiling, that he wouldn't just approve an increase in the debt ceiling as we've done multiple times in the past. And so this is a collision course between the White House, which says they're not going to negotiate, that we've already incurred these bills, we have to pay the bills that we owe, and the Republicans who are saying that they want to stop the spending, they want to reduce spending, they want to make cuts to different programs. And so it does appear that this is a major collision that is likely to happen in the next few months, in which the Republicans are saying that they need to negotiate, they need spending cuts. The White House is saying that they're not going to negotiate over this because they've seen what has happened in the past, where negotiations happened over the debt ceiling and it led to this sort of major problems in the U.S. economy. And so the White House and the Republicans at some point are going to have to get into a room and work this out. But right now, it seems like they're not feeling the pressure yet. And the Treasury Department, I think, is trying to put some of that pressure on by saying, we don't have a lot of time. You guys got to figure out what you're going to do, figure out how to get this debt ceiling raised so we don't default on our debt for the first time in U.S. history. And so it does appear that there's a little bit of a gridlock right now, and it will require some deft handling of this by President Biden and by his administration. Because right now it seems like the Republicans are not going to approve anything without getting some sort of spending cut, some sort of movement on the issues that they care about. And Speaker McCarthy has his hands tied as well. So it does appear that this is going to be a major collision at some point in the next few months, and it's not yet clear how it's going to work out just yet.
Seems like deja vu, right? Almost every year we're at this near collision point. The question is, at what point does it really impact the U.S. economy and our credit rating? Tolu Olorunnipa, Jennifer Rogers, thank you.